Hi, I'm Helen Gotlib, and I'm a printmaking artist based in Dexter, Michigan, and this is my studio. So I share the studio with my partner, Dylan Straczynski. He's also an artist, and I do printmaking, he does painting, so there's a lot of both of our work everywhere. This is my drying rack area, my etching press where I print all my intaglio and dry point pieces. This is one of my larger new pieces, August Sun. It's a 4x6 foot piece that's actually made of 4 different prints that I pasted together on a wood panel. And then after it was pasted down and varnished, I actually added palladium and gold leaf gilding into some of the petals and the flowers. And then this is another a different series of work that I've been making based on the connection between wood grain and water. And this one's called Sine Wave. And so what I did was actually hand dyed this paper with an acrylic paint, and then waited for that to dry, and then printed these large tree cookies to symbolize the water, and then painted individually the goldfish on top of that. Here is one of my pieces that's a sand dune piece inspired by the Pacific Northwest and Lake Michigan a little bit. Sometimes it's not just one place that sticks with me, but several different places. But you can see how I'm really interested in incorporating wood grain that represents something like the wood grain represents the water in the sky, and then also the grass. Sections. Actually, this is what it looks like before I before I paste down the individual pieces. For example, in the sunflower piece, that's one of the sections without gilding on it. Over summertime, I've just had a lot more time to go hiking and kind of explore different areas. There's this spot called West Lake Preserve. It's about 10 minutes from my house, and I did a lot of hiking there with friends and with Dylan. Almost like you just pull in at the parking lot and you look down, it's just this huge open field with this tiny pond in the middle, and there's just all these wildflowers everywhere. Queen Anne's lace and goldenrod and all these other just beautiful little Michigan wildflowers. And I was like, I don't know, I need to make artwork about this spot. It's just so magical and had such a relaxing feeling to it. And there's just nobody else there. Like almost every time we went there, it was like parking lot's empty. I just felt really taken with it and wanted to try and make it into a piece of artwork. Okay, so when I started this process, what I did was I took a bunch of plywood pieces, cut them into about 2 by 3 foot sections, and then covered them with vinyl spackle. And the key to a lot of this process is much of the image was made in the vinyl spackle before I even dried. So what I did was I actually used some of these tools for that, which are very high-tech tools. An unwound piece of wire, thick gauge, a thinner unwound piece of wire, skinny gauge, and just took it and just scraped in the gestural image, lines of this whole landscape. Afterwards, once it dried, I used a mixture of watercolor and liquid acrylic paint to paint all over the piece, the spackle, to make it pink. And honestly, I've used every color for that before, but basically it's just so I can see contrast when I'm carving in my other lines. And then once it dries, I sand it so it's very flat, so it's easy to go through the press. Have that color on there, and then start going in with other tools. Let's see, needle point. Punch tool. This is actually a sign maker's tool, I guess. I don't know. Dylan had it around the studio. You know, when you want to get really crazy, bust this thing out. I don't really know what this is for, but it works great for making a lot of lines all at once. Anyway, so I went all in with that, and then I realized that my hand was gonna fall off if I didn't start using some power tools on it. So then I bust out the Dremel and started dremeling all over the spackle to get some of the more gestural lines in the goldenrod and the just kind of like grassy textures at the bottom of the piece. And then after that, I thought, okay, some of these lines are really wide and I'm probably just gonna wipe all the ink out of them, so I need to have some kind of texture in there. That's when I decided to use carborundum, which is this dust. It's almost like gluing down sand into the plate. And I have some of that right here. You can kind of see these black areas or dark gray areas is where I pasted down the carborundum. And you can see all the like texture there that will print really dark, just inside the flowers and the tree line up here. Then I use a coat of polyurethane and water to seal the piece. I do a couple coats of that just to make sure all the lines are really protected once I start inking it. Let that dry for a day. When I go to print it, I take a little ceramic squeegee, I guess, and put the ink across the whole thing and use a tarlatan to rub it into all the lines and get the excess ink off of the top so I have the nice highlighted areas. Sometimes I use a Q-tip to get the really bright areas, like in the pond in the middle of the piece. I have my paper soaking. I take the paper out, put that on top of the piece, and then roll it through the etching press to get the impression. So I did that 8 different times for 8 different pieces. So far, I've printed 3 of each of them. I'm really pleased with how it came out, and I think there's no proofing going on here. I just know now after it dries I want to do some gilding with gold and palladium leaf on some of the flowers, and I might carve the sky out and maybe part of the water once it's pasted down onto wood panel. One other thing that I've really noticed about this summer is that as much as there's been a lot of crazy stuff going on, it's like nature just keeps going. Nature just keeps doing its thing. It's not affected by all the stuff we get wrapped up in, and I think that that is what I try to focus on the most. As much as I was feeling like, oh, maybe I'm not getting enough work done, I was gathering so much inspiration from taking these hikes and visiting gardens and, you know, just being outside constantly. Now it's all starting to come out in my new ideas and the new imagery I'm working on right now.